store and restaurant. There were tough times, but everyone in the family pitched in, working together, and when they found the time, playing together. Over the years, Mitch has come to understand that the real benefit of a tight, loving family is not just the camaraderie and the good times. The real and lasting benefit is the relationship between parent and child.
We've always had, a really close bond, my father and I. He was a particularly loving guy, really charismatic, and I always remember being totally taken by him as a kid. I always remember people that met him said, he was just a super charismatic and sort of powerful man that had, a huge presence. Just a little over 8 years ago now, Michael developed a sarcoma cancer of his foot. And then a friend said to me, Mitch, you should prepare yourself that your father could die. Have you thought about that? And I guess I hadn't. I guess that was something that just sort of slipped over my head. Dad was a big, strong guy. Nothing could take him out. He'd be fine. Back home soon. I remember going in and seeing my father in a pretty poor way. He was in intensive care. A clot had moved from his leg up and into his heart, which ceased his heart to function properly and destroyed him. I definitely felt the loss of a hugely important figure in my life.
Maybe it was the deep attachment between father and son. Maybe it was 20-year-old Mitch's uncertainty about not knowing where he was going with his life. Most likely it was a mixture of both. But the loss of his father shook Mitch to the very core of his being. He lost his energy for life and fell into a depression. To escape from his despair, he began to abuse alcohol and marijuana. Mitch knew he was on a downward spiral. What he feared most was that he'd never find the energy to pull himself out of it. Things were going from bad to worse when Mitch had an unexpected visitor.
I remember this one night that changed all that for me. It was probably about midnight on October and a Wednesday night. I remember sort of sitting up and thinking, why am I feeling like this? I get this feeling that there's someone else in here. I hear pretty prominent footsteps in my room that sound very authoritative. I'm instantly uneasy, and I get this feeling like, oh God, what's going on? And from where the footsteps occurred is there's a bathroom. I could hear, it sounded like taps being turned on and turned off again. And at this point, I'm very anxious. I want to get up and investigate. As I decide to get up, I sort of decide that that's a bad idea. And I stay in bed and I do the little kid thing where the covers come up to here and I'm just freaking. I basically decided that I'm just going to ride whatever's going on out in bed. Just leave the television on and try and just focus on that. I eventually nod off, and what I awoke to was kind of the feeling like if you were to sort of blow hot air across your hand on the back of my head, right about here. So I'm asleep like this, and I get this feeling right here, and simultaneously I wake up and come around like this. Before me, what I see is a brilliant orb that's about 6 to 8 centimeters in diameter that have spurs of light that are shafting sort of out from this core. The brilliance of what I'm seeing is like nothing else I've ever seen. Basically all I had a chance to see was in that 3 seconds, this orb right there, and it held for a split second as if you catch a deer in the forest and it looks into your eyes and then bolts. I got up out of bed and jotted down as best as what I could a description as what I'd just seen. I guess the first thing that brought the notion on that this was most likely my father was when I woke up and went downstairs. I think that it would be pretty good to assume that would be my father, and that would be his way of trying to help his son. Maybe it was important enough for him to swing back down to planet Earth for a night and shake his kid up and say, you know, you gotta get over me. So all my questions and all of my fears and all of my concerns and all of my longings, everything had kind of been shaken like this and dumped out on the ground.
Both Mitch and Salwa had experiences they believe were a guiding hand from dead relatives. Both decided to follow that guidance, and as a result made huge decisions about their lives. Usually in Western culture, when a person tells of connecting with a dead loved one, it's because they actively sought out the relative using a medium. Mitch and Salwa didn't do that. They didn't go looking, but they still believed they got advice from their dead relations. And so their experiences didn't only change their behavior, they also had an effect on their openness to and acceptance of the spiritual and supernatural.
I guess I consider myself more spiritual in a sense that I never really embraced being spiritual. I didn't really know what that was, but in one sentence I would say that experience has given me life again.
So in any way, I don't regret what I did, because the peace I got, you know, for the amount expected, is not worth, you know. It's not worth. But still the question is there. Who is controlling my feeling? Who has controlled my feeling? I was not scared to see my sister. Even if I see her right now, I will talk to her. I am not scared at all.